My Trip to Germany, 1976, by Tim Godwin. August 16th, 1976. I woke up, I got ready, and did some last-minute running around. Was glad to see Pop, Grandma, Karen, and Moson at the airport along with Mom and Bob. Sure gonna miss everyone. But the flight out of Denver into Chicago was a little bumpy. I sat next to an English teacher, my favorite subject, who taught in Ithaca at a high school. When I arrived in Chicago, I only had about an hour in between flights, and I had planned to call Mrs. Myers, but ran out of time. O'Hare Airport is huge. I ran my ass off trying to find and catch the plane. I was delayed a bit because I noticed a group of long-haired hippies, and they happened to be my favorite all-time Southern rock band, Lynyrd Skynyrd. They definitely smelled of Jack Daniels, and it was 10 a.m. in the morning. Classic rock and roll. So I ended up talking with Ronnie Van Zant for a bit and ended up getting most of their autographs, all except Alan Collins. Oh, well, that's okay. It was pretty cool seeing them and getting to meet them in the airport that morning. Well, I caught my plane and now headed for Erie, Pennsylvania, then Elmer, Corning, New York, and then to Ithaca. Too many stops in such a short distance. I landed in Ithaca around 10 o'clock and I was tired. August 20th. I just got back from Mr. Porterfield's house and had dinner over there. Had veal, potatoes, zucchini, an eggplant casserole, hot buns, wine, and 3 kinds of dessert. Cake, ice cream, and pecan waffles. Very good. Past week has been busy, painting, running errands, and just getting last-minute details. Shay and Worth are cuter than ever, especially that Shay. He's a combination between Todd and Ty. Todd's wit and clowning and Ty's looks when he was a baby. I saw Allison last night and went bar hopping. 18 is the legal age. We ended up going to 3 different bars and got a drink at each place, but mostly spent the time talking. Now, the next night we had a fish fry over at Mr. Porterfield's, and then later that week we had a small party here at the house. AC and Jones' house and land is beautiful. It's a big white 1880s 2-story house with a huge front lawn and a good-sized pond on 70 acres. It's surrounded by trees, hiding it from the road. I've only practiced guitar a little bit this week, just because of lack of time, but I have been playing around on the piano and have learned one song, kind of. It's partly learned it. It's The Girl from Ipanema. They have such a beautiful grand piano. It just said, come play me, and I had no choice. I had to go play this piano. Well, tomorrow we go to Pennsylvania and we stay a night with Joan's sister. Then we leave at 9:30 in the evening with a stop in Iceland and arriving in Luxembourg around midnight. And getting excited each minute. Musically speaking, I'm kind of hoping that I get a chance to play all the Charlie Christian solos and some of the George Benson songs I'd recorded. Plus a couple of the source studies and practice scales, study improv, things like that. Learn a few Jeff Beck numbers. Well, that's it for now. I'm just kind of thinking of everyone back in Denver. August 22nd. It's 10 p.m. and I've been on the plane for about 45 minutes and we're headed towards Joan's sister's house. By the way, we happen to be flying on an Icelandic DC-8. Joan's sister's house is really nice. It's a big 1800s 3-story house with a huge barn with a small stream emptying in the Susquehanna River. I ended up taking a nice walk that morning along the river, and it was so beautiful with the river on one side and there's a small cliff with trees on the other side. I went down to the bank and it really reminded me of the adventures of Huck Finn. And I was about to take an adventure of my life, headed to Germany the next morning. That morning we took a drive to JFK International Airport. Got to tell you, it was interesting because growing up in Denver where everything's, there's a little green, there's the evergreens, but man, back here it is so green. It was such a beautiful drive. The other thing I noticed was the size of JFK International Airport was huge. And just seeing all the planes from all the different countries. Didn't really get that from Denver's Stapleton Airport. We ended up having dinner in the International Airport or something like that, and it was a buffet dinner. I ate a lot. I had a margarita and a glass of wine. Well, I'm getting tired, especially of riding right now, so I'm going to say good night, and we'll see you in Luxembourg. As we were flying over France, I couldn't help but notice how the trees down below looked as if a giant gardener had come along and trimmed them perfectly. It was beautiful. We landed in Luxembourg at 12 noon. It took a little bit of time to gather the 18 pieces of luggage, which also included our carry-on baggage. And we were overweight by 50 kilos or something like that. And the attendant at JFK gave us a break to about 25. And of course, at $3.10 a kilo, that was an added expense. From there, we took a bus to the train depot, and we were waiting about 2 hours for the various things like luggage and try to find a hotel and what to do with all this luggage once we checked it through to Munich. And so that took about 45 minutes. And then finally, with arms full of crying kids, we made it back to 2 blocks where we are now resting. Of course, during the 2-hour adventure, thoughts of why I was doing this entered my mind. What the hell was I thinking? Of course, I'm glad I did it. While on the bus, I got the chance to sightsee a bit, seeing the buildings, people, bikes, small cars, greenery. But the one big factor that made me finally realize I was finally in Europe, at that exact moment when I got off the bus, I heard that sound I've heard in 1,000 movies, that European siren sound, and it seemed like 1,000 pigeons flew up as if to say, "Tim, welcome to Europe. You're here." Well, that's it for right now. I think I'm going to lay down. I'm a bit tired. Yeah, I had maybe about 2 or 3 hours of sleep. Yeah, and if Shay and Worth settle down a bit, that'll help too. I'll be okay. We did get 2 rooms, and the boys and I are in one, and AC and Joan are in the other. And one more thing about this hotel. The boys and I shared one room where AC and Joan shared another room. But I got to say, the boys and I, we got a balcony. I had the windows wide open, absorbing the sounds and smells and sights of Luxembourg. August 24th. I woke up around 7 a.m. Thanks to the phone call from the manager down below to wake us up. But I got to say, I had an excellent night's sleep. I was dead tired. So after that, we strolled downstairs and had a continental breakfast in the hotel, which was basically coffee, milk, and bread. They seem to eat light here right here in Luxembourg. After breakfast, we got all our bags and headed to the train station for Munich. The train was everything I thought a European train should be. It had separate train cars and big enough to hold 6 people, the right size for this group. And the people here, so far I've noticed the people are really friendly and they love children. When we were out here outside the train depot yesterday waiting, Shay and Worth were getting a little restless, but the people would come up and try to comfort them. Excellent. The girls here are all right. Their beauty is somewhat different here than back home. I mean, they are good looking, but in a different way. It's that European look. Well, getting ready to take off. August 26th. Well, spent all day yesterday bringing luggage from Munich to Grafing, where we were staying. It's about a 45-minute one-way trip, and we ended up making 2 trips. Nothing real exciting yesterday. Just we've been eating out a lot the past few days and had some pretty good food. And the pastries here are excellent. And everything here is so neat and trim. It's like a picture postcard. The Germans do take real pride in their work. I'd like to buy a sweater, but I have to check the money situation. Now, our apartment that where we're staying is above a disco pizza place. I'll probably go down there some night when I've learned a little bit more German. It's gradually coming, and I'd also like to meet some people, especially musicians, and maybe get a jam going. Well, I think I'm going to go to sleep now. More adventures tomorrow. August 30th. Guten Morgen. It's about 9:15 in the morning. Reason I've been writing lately is just I've honestly just been laying around, catching up on some rest from the long journey. But the other day we did go into town, went into Munich to the Marienplatz. The Marienplatz is like something out of a movie. It's got this giant cathedral-type building with figures going around. It's the Glockenspiel. It's a big clock that happens every hour, and at certain times of the day, you'd see the different figures coming out and walking around. And there's a bunch of cafes and tons of people just hanging out, guitar players playing and doing busking by the statues. And I think maybe next week I might bring my guitar and try to play a bit. I will say that people dress really well here. It's turns out Munich is quite a fashion hub. The girls tend to dress like in the fancy dress jeans, unlike like Levi's and lots of midway dresses, and they tend to use a little bit more makeup than I'm used to. I did meet this one girl in the S-Bahn who was dressed in a nice jeans, nice plain shirt, and windbreaker type jacket, but wore it very smartly and no makeup. She was quite nice and spoke English very well, and she also spoke French, and next year she's going to start speaking Russian. So I had a nice little conversation. I think today we're going to go into Munich unless we can use the washing machines here. We got to do our laundry. I'll have to go into Ebersberg with Joan and kind of show her where the laundromat is because we don't have one here. And this town is really pretty nice, and I've taken a few walks, and it's a beautiful town. I still want to find a Hofbrauhaus. I think today I'll see if I can find one. We've been eating dinner this past week in the Italian restaurant down the Strasse. Next week we'll have a fridge so we can actually eat in the apartment. Anyway, this restaurant has the best spaghetti. The kind I like. It has tomato sauce, anchovies, garlic, and other little bits. Excellent. And I have been practicing up on my German, so I'm going to get some lessons from AC here, about half an hour a day starting next week. I also have been doing some reading on my own and hope to be able to speak, by the time I get home. I really want to learn it because it's so different than learning in school, because right here I have to actually use it. And it's fun when you can get into a point across in a different language, no matter how small, even if it's saying like, hey, how are you? Well, that's it for now. Gonna get ready to eat breakfast, and that's another thing. Breakfast. I mean, I'm used to eggs and toast and maybe a big bowl of cereal, but here we've had coffee and same pastries. It's good, but I need a little bit more for breakfast. I lay awake at night dreaming of a giant egg and bacon. September 4th. Well, it's Saturday night, and what's there to do on a Saturday night in Grafing, Germany? Well, I could see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in German or go downstairs to the disco, but we'll have to get my German down a little bit better. I'm at least getting somewhat better. I did see an Italian movie last week. It was a comedy. Good thing it was slapstick, or I'd really be lost. Went back to Munich again today with AC and Joan and the kids. We walked through the older part of town, and a lot of small, windy Strasse, which Strasse is a street. I'm going to slowly kind of phase in some of these German words just to kind of so that I am learning something. Anyway, we went to a couple of Catholic churches, and of course I believe that's all they have. It'd be interesting to see a Southern Baptist church. But anyway, the churches are very beautiful and filled with tons of ornaments and silver and gold, and even the smallest of church is filled with ornaments. Lots of paintings and on the walls and the ceilings. Sehr gut. I mean, there's so many of them. It's just hard to put them all down on paper. You just have to kind of see it and be here. But anyway, I'd like to get some postcards of some of the insides of the churches so I can send back home. I am starting to feel a little bit at home here in Grafing. It's a beautiful town and village, and definitely going to go out and take some pictures so I can bring back home to the family and friends. But I don't want to quite look like a tourist. I kind of want to look like I'm, part of the Grafing-ites here. I got to say, I've seen several very nice-looking young ladies and would like to meet some, but I seem to lack the guts and the vocabulary to talk to them. But hopefully within a month I can carry on somewhat of a conversation. I feel I pretty much can by then. I mean, I practice and studied every day around the house, and any word that I know in German, I will just use in a sentence, even if it's half English and half German, just so that I get used to saying those words all the time and getting used to it. And of course, AC, he speaks a lot too, so that helps. And I'm already used to saying like, ja, nein, auf Wiedersehen. So slowly getting there. Well, it's starting to get cold here, and it's rainy and cloudy most of the time. And now I kind of wish I would have brought more winter things and less summer. But I do plan to get that really nice sweater while I'm here. I did buy Kim a charm last week. I think she'll like it. Not sure what to get Bob, Todd, or Ty. Mom wanted something, but I forgot. I hope she tells me. Not sure what to get for Dad. I did get a letter from Kim the other day. It was really nice to receive a letter from home. Don't really realize how much a letter from home would mean to me until now, being so far away. And my address book was left in Ithaca. I think. I hope I can get it. Joan did write to the people that are staying at the house to see if they found it and if they could send it. Would sure feel bad if I didn't send a postcard to my friends. Figured by now Bob and Doug and Scott ought to be starting school right now. I'll have to go up there and see them in Boulder when I get back for sure. I hope my friend Herbie, his plays are going well. And Tony, last year in high school. And speaking of high school, I'd love to see Todd in his first week of high school. I sure hope Ty's back is feeling better. I also heard Mom's back is kind of giving her a problem again, too. I hope she gets better and that everybody helps her out as well. I did write to Tom and Sally and the other day, and I'll be glad to see them and the kids. It's been a long time, and it'll be great to go skiing there in Austria. Well, my guitar practicing and playing hasn't been like it has been in the past, but I do put in an hour or two each day. I have been on my classical kick, so I seem to go from one to another, but we'll keep playing with mostly classical since I can play AC's guitar, and I love it. Joan says playing classical. Joan does say that I play classical better than ragtime or jazz. Not technically speaking, but feel-wise. Well, that's about it for now. I'm going to hit the sack, and well, that's another thing. The bed's here, it's just a mattress on a bed frame with a down spread. That's it. It has taken a while to get used to, but oh well. Good night. Guten Nacht. Oh, I was just reminded of a very funny incident that happened on the S-Bahn coming from Munich to Grafing after we had arrived in Europe. Shay had to pee so bad he was dancing. You see, whenever he has to go, he starts moving around a bit, and then he says, "I'm dancing, Mommy, I'm dancing, I'm dancing." Poor kid, he couldn't help it, the poor kid, but we were laughing so hard, and he said, "Maybe you should open the door so I could pee on the tracks." He did end up, poor kid, peeing about twice, and then finally when we got to Grafing, we all flew out the door, and Joan threw down his pants, and there he did. He just peed right there and left quite a puddle. Anyway, that was the excitement for that day. September 6th. It's Monday night, and it's been pretty cold. Yesterday, Joan and the boys and I went to go see a Walt Disney movie. In German, of course, and it was a Big Boy or something like that, but as we Americans know it as Boy from the Jungle. Today I took Shay to the park, and we also took a walk as well, and we seem to get on fairly well. I like that kid. And Worth is starting kindergarten today, but Shay couldn't understand why he couldn't start today, but we had to explain, like, yeah, your brother's going first, and you'll be going a little bit later. And, of course, once they're both gone, at least it gives Joan and I at least peace and quiet for 4 hours. I saw the old man in the park again. Not sure if I've mentioned him or not, but I met him in the park last week and started talking. Luckily, he does speak English, and I see him about every other day walking, and we'll talk a bit. I mean, his vocabulary in English is almost like my German, so conversations are kept a bit short. And I fell in love again today. Nice-looking Fraulein. She looked to be more American, and I would sure like to meet her, but I'm still working hard at learning that damn language. It's a very difficult language to learn, and there's a lot of rules in learning the masculine and the feminine side of words, and just a lot of things to be memorized. I got a letter from Pop and Grandma today. Really glad to hear from them. Sounds like Pop is golfing a lot. Good that he has a grandson to play golf with. And Grandma sounded busier than ever. I sure do love them. Have been taking a lot of walks and trying to see most of Grafing. And I found some very interesting houses and buildings, etc., to take pictures of, so people back home can get a good idea of like where I was living and what graphing is like. Well, within the past few days, my naive thoughts of that all Europeans are nice is quickly changing. And not to say the opposite, that they're all bad, but like every place, there's a good and bad, And I mean, there are people that just take advantage of other people and are just downright ugly. I mean, I feel I've been ripped off probably about 3 times, and that's 3 times too much, and it just burns my butt to see people take advantage of other people because they can't speak the language. And it's happened. It's not just happened to me, it's happened to Joan. And this is another factor that pushes me to learn the language as fast as possible. Just being a little bit more careful and not being naive. The next day, AC had picked up a concert schedule, and I was just thumbing through it, and I found out that Andres Segovia was coming the following month. And when I saw that, it just totally blew my mind. To think that I can see the great guitar master himself in person. I was definitely going to see him, and close to the front as possible.